Hi everyone. I hope you all had a good lunch and you are not too sleepy. So let's welcome Médéric Hurier, who is going to talk about Androzoo APK Search, so a search service of metadata related to Android malware. So Médéric is currently a PhD student as well as a teacher assistant at the University of Luxembourg. So I give you the floor.
Okay, so thank you. So yes, so the topic of my presentation will be on Android malware. So I know that it's not a topic that may interest all of you. So first, let me ask who is interested in his company or the personal hobby on Android application, like for pen testing, reverse. Well, that's what I thought. Okay. I tried to keep my presentation interesting. So first, let me hear a bit about me. So, I'm a doctoral researcher and teacher assistant at the University of Luxembourg. I'm also a freelance. I work as a data scientist mentor at Open Classroom, previously Le Site du Zéro, in French. My thesis topic is focused on Android security, machine learning, and big data. And especially, I'm interested in dissecting and understanding the behavior of Android malware. I added some handle there to my social account and my code repository. So about my team, I work as a researcher at SNT, so it's a center at Luxembourg, which stands for Interdisciplinary Center for Security, Reliability and Trust. Our center is focused on creating partnership with industrial partners, and so to handle industrial problem. Within this center, we are working in a research group called Serval, which is specialized in security, in software validation, reasoning, and validation. We have a team of about 30 people, and you can find the link here in the presentation to visit the people. And within this team, we have a sub-team which is specialized on Android security. So our area of expertise are malware and vulnerability detection, and also static analysis. So we have some good tier 1 publication that we publish at research conference like Usenix, E3E, PLDL, and POPEN. Now, let's discuss about the problem. The problem I want to present today is the propagation of Android malware. And as Boromir is saying here, one does not simply prevent the propagation of Android malware. Well, it didn't say that in the movie, but I want to back up this statement with some numbers. So the first 2 points come up directly from the blog of the Android security team. In 2008, there was 3.5 million applications on Google Play. And the same year, the team, they removed 700,000 applications were considered as harmful or as malware, which is a lot. And by the way, it does not include the application they are currently not detecting. So it's just the one that they are currently able to detect. And if I add a report from G-Data, so a security company, they say that there is 344 new malware application which are discovered every hour, which is a lot. So there is no way that human can analyze this amount of malware. It will basically transform every people on the world as reverse engineers. So I think we are far from there. To try to understand the cause of this problem, I think we have to think about the process. How do we create new malware are created, and how they are understand. For me, it's come down to an automation problem, because in this fight, the attacker have a clear advantage, and we do not. On one hand, the attacker, they are able to, with some script, to automate the creation of new malware. They can repackage it, obfuscate the code, and use a new technique to try to avoid current detection. The problem is, on the other hand, we are lacking resource to analyze this amount of code. And it's more difficult for us to analyze because with all the technique they do to try to bypass our current security measure, we have no way to keep up with the current rate of propagation. And finally, and this is important, compared to other areas where machine learning can be used to automate this task, security is one of the most difficult ones. I'll compare it for me as the medical field. Like, if you are on Amazon and you want to, Amazon want to recommend some product. I mean, if you don't buy the product, it's not a problem. They lose a bit of money, but there is no grave consequence. On our side, if, for example, we miss even one malicious file, or on the other end we block it, it's possible that it has consequences, like some people doesn't get his reports, some person can be fired, or you can just screw up the whole infrastructure of your company. So that's why it's really more difficult for us to provide fully automated solution, since we cannot guarantee the behavior of the application. The same, if you go to a robot doctor, would you trust his opinion? The first question you will ask is, what do you think? I have this disease or this one? And we currently are not at this stage. So for me, to try to keep up with the attacker, we need to develop even more automation and better automation, and also to share information. That's where I present to you Androzoo APK Search. So for me, it's part of the solution. What you are doing here is you are providing the security community with an online service that allow us to search metadata related to Android application. So as our current service is based on 1 million malicious application, and we provide a read-only access, which means that it's not like MISP where people can share information. We collect the malware, reprocess them, and you can issue queries on our system to get information. So the use case that we found could be useful for the community will be first to try to identify applications which are sharing the same components. If you identify that a class or a file or a method is involved into some malicious activity, your first reaction will be to check on this kind of database what are the other applications that use this indicator to try to block it. You can try also to be a bit more advanced and also to assess the trends of malicious artifacts which are released, to see if there is something which is really common or if something is falling out of the trend. And finally, our goal with this platform is to create a tool that other people can use to create more automated solution. So if you want to know more, this is a link to the documentation of the website. It's androzoo.uni.lu/APK Search. I list here some information that you are currently indexing, so the metadata. There is, for those who don't know Android, I try to explain. An Android application is just a zip file. It's an APK file, just a zip, with a bit of Java metadata. So it contains files, so it can be images or shell scripts, and we get information like the name, path, and signature of these files. We also retrieve some meta information like the markets, the origin of the application, its size, and also the package name associated to it. We also report the antivirus labels, and here we already integrate one of our solutions which try to come up with a single family per malicious application. We also get you also get the developer certificate. So who created the application with their certificate, so the issuer, owner, and the signature of the certificates. And finally, the most important thing, some code objects, which are methods, field, class, everything you can find in Java application. So we also have strings, invokes. The goal is to create as much possible candidate for signature and for finding related application. And you also have some manifest information which is specific to Android. These are the permission, the activities, the intents, and so on. I'll try to represent on this picture here how the things could be represented in visually. So it's like a graph. The round node will be the application, and the rectangle one are the components. And the interesting thing here, like a social network, is to try to study the relation. What application include what artifact, and vice versa. Okay. I will briefly discuss the architecture. So it's based on ElasticSearch. So it's a full search text engine that we use to index this information. So we use it to store documents and index their attributes. We process the extraction of metadata from Android application with Python using Celery. So we distribute it across our cluster, and we present ElasticSearch API over Apache, where we enforce some basic authentication. So overall, this is the diagram. Just note that this system is hosted by the university, and as a good I would say researcher, it's the best effort. So don't expect to have some SLA, 99.9 SLA. That's not the case. We try to do our best to handle everybody's traffic, and it's possible that sometimes the firewall will not keep up or things like this. Now, I just want to explain a bit more how you could access this API. So we provide an authorization mechanism, which is based on HTTP basic auth. So here you just have to send your email and API key over HTTP by adding headers, and it will authenticate the request. So that's not too complex. You first need to encode your key with base 64, which is a simple algorithm to send things over the internet. And if you want to get a key, you first have to send us an email to androzoo@unit.lu. We'll send you the key, and then you will be able to send the forged, encoded key with each request to get information. For the access method, so the nice thing with ElasticSearch is that it's based on it's a REST API which provides you with JSON documents. So it should be familiar with everybody which use an API over the internet. So any HTTP client or any JSON client can process information from the API. Some example: GQ, curl, Python HTTP, and Python requests. Now, I will provide you with some example. So the goal is to show you what you can do with our service. As a prerequisite, this is the only thing you need to type in Python to get access to it. So once you type this 3 line and you have the key for sure, you will be able to access and issue some queries. I also added a link if we want to create some more powerful Elasticsearch queries. So there is 9 examples. I will not explain all of them in detail. And for those who are not so interested about the example, it's still interesting to know a bit more how Elasticsearch works if you want, for example, to integrate it to a SIEM solution. So this is how a query looks like. So you need to provide a path to our metadata index, which is called APK index. And this is the simplest query, which simply returns the number of documents which are currently indexed. Simple one. You can also create some queries like in SQL. This one, so the query is a JSON document that you sent with the request, and this one is returning all the family who match, whose antivirus say it's come from the Adu family. You can also get a single document, so it will retrieve all the metadata related to the application. So below you can see the list of metadata. So that's what I mentioned in the previous slide. So next one, multi-document. It's possible to retrieve the document in bulk. So okay. This one is a bit more interesting because it creates a logical operation. So here we are interested by every application which contain Chinese translation and which include a .sh file. So when I was at the university, this request took something like less than 5 seconds to return, and that's a nice way to gather if you have some suspicion about a country or an IP and so on. It's a good way to get a potentially dangerous application. You can also do some analytics, similar to a group by in SQL. So here we are computing the total size of our set of APK. I think it's something like 10 terabytes of APK that we are currently hosting, and so you can also create various type of queries like this. You can also retrieve the package associated to the application. If you are looking, for example, for a domain, like if you are working in a bank, you can say what are the application which includes the domain in the package name. That could be useful, for example, if you want to retrieve the application and try to impersonate your own company. This one is a bit complex. Just if you are interested by that, there is something called the Scroll API in Elastic that to retrieve a lot of data efficiently. So if at some point you are saying, okay, maybe I don't have enough result or it's taking too much time, Scroll API, and if it doesn't work, send me an email. But yeah, moving. And the last one, so this one is useful, for example, for other researchers when they want to study, for example, some specific features. So you can, for example, select every application that we are currently hosting, which contains the read thought state permission. All right, so I finished with the example. So now I will just present what we also intend to do in the future with our service. First thing we want to do is to include more application. We divided it into three stages. The first stage was to import every malicious application, and with the most important features. So that's what we are currently, the state we are currently in. Now, we also want to include a benign application in our set. So in total, that's 7 million applications, which account for 60 terabytes of data. And finally, we also want to include machine learning features that could help other people to create models to detect this kind of application. We also want to provide other service on top of APK Search, and I will detail them in the next slide. And finally, we also, at some point, provided a service called Epicalize to provide a live inspection of application. So it was returning more metadata that you are currently serving. This service is currently broken, but if I have some time, I try to repair it and to make it available again. If people are interested by integrating APK Search into their products, you can contact us. For example, I'll be interested to integrate this solution with MISP, and some of my colleagues are already in discussion to try to do so. I give you also some related work, something I did in the past. Again, to try to understand better Android malware. One of my first work was to try to unify the label of antivirus report. So when you receive something like a virus total report, which contains the label for many antivirus, they all get a different name, and you have a different syntax, different semantic. So the goal of our tool is to try to say, okay, this malware, it's come from this family. If there is some common terms, like one say it's called PGApp and the other say it's called ADWU, but they always occur in the same time, we say it's the same application, so we say it's a synonym. I also created STAYS, which is some statistical metric to try to better qualify malware datasets. Here the goal was for researchers to guarantee that the data they were using to train a machine learning model was not biased, for example, by including a set of antivirus which were too different from the rest of the set. So we try to evaluate here some questions like, do the antivirus detection, are they too generic? What are the confidence level? And also, is there some similar detection across antivirus? Finally, we are currently working on a new approach called epigraph. Our goal here is to try to find the discriminate components. So the components which appear in a single malware family, but which do not appear elsewhere. So we say that these features are characteristic of a given family, and that they are interesting as the first part to locate the malicious behavior of Android application. So the work is currently not released yet, but if it's interesting, let me know. So in conclusion, Androzoo APK Search, it's an online service that people in our community can use to retrieve information about Android application. Our goal is to try to enable the community to get easy access to Android malware with a good understanding of their characteristic and what do they and how do they harm their user. This dataset is available to every researcher under some small condition. You can check them on this website. And for industrial actors, you will need to contact us. This is on a case by case basis, but we already have some collaboration with partners to integrate Androzoo results. That's it. I'm open to any question. I just hope that you have at least be interested a bit by the Android work and by the thing we are doing as researchers. Thank you.
Thank you for the nice presentation. I was just checking the website while we were talking, and I saw on the Access page it was quite complex to actually get access to the service, and it mentioned something about institutions and a permanent position and stuff like that. So is it possible for someone who wants to play around or check to get access in an easier way maybe?
So it's you will have to send us an email. I think it's better to discuss this over an email, because it's true. We cannot. It will be irresponsible for us to send malware to people without any prerequisites. So currently, our condition is it has to be for researcher. It has to be sent by people coming from an institution like the University of Luxembourg, the Royal Holloway, or an institute like this. And then they need to agree that they will not share them themselves and so on. So the best thing is to send us an email and we can discuss how can we share the information.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, so I do have a few questions. Assuming I'm a malware analyst and I discovered like strange things with this Androzoo, am I able to download the samples?
Yes, so I didn't mention it, but Androzoo, it's part of a larger service that one of my colleagues created. And there we are hosted 7 million applications that people can download. The thing is, previously we didn't have any system to do some queries. Like I'm only interested by application that use Bluetooth for Wi-Fi, for instance. So yes, you can use Androzoo to download the application and trying to understand how to employ data solution. As you may see, this was was tailored for researchers. But if you encounter some problem in the company, I think it's also an interesting source to get informative samples.
Again, I have a question about this new feature that you want to implement. So mainly the machine learning ones. Will this information be available through this interface, like, I don't know, the clusterization, all these classifications that you will do? Will it be available to this search?
It will be available, I think, yes, but mostly like document. So which means you will be able to get the result, but I don't think it will be too valuable to make some search on it. Because here, I have to go back a bit far, but I was mostly interested by what I call binary features, which is something you could say, is it in the application, yes or no? Like a file, the file is either here or it's not here. But for machine learning algorithm, we are mostly interested by computed metrics. For example, what is the total number of permission, which is something that's not too useful for an analyst. But if you want to create some behavioral model, there it's interesting. So it will not be searchable like the feature that we have here, but they will be available with the same interface. Again, that's the best effort, so it depends on our time, on the time I have to allocate to this. Yeah.
Okay, and my last question is about this Androzoo. Is this something which analyzes the APKs dynamically, or is just static analysis of the file?
For the moment, it's only static analysis. We try to create a service which could include many type of analysis tool, like Androzoo, for instance, and return its result. So I think to be less advanced to other known solution. I can't remember the one, but the one where a web application, you can provide a lot of information about Android application. For us, our goal was to provide more a wide set of analysis, but not necessarily to compete to have the best analysis compared to other existing solution. Okay.
Okay, so I finished with my questions. So if anyone else has some questions. No? Okay, so thank you again, Médéric, for your talk.
Thank you for your attention.